Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nickey, and today we are going to talk a pop culture staple, a reality television staple. America's Next Top Model. Netflix did the documentary reality check on America's Next Top Model, and when I first heard about this, I was so hyped because I was there. Okay, I was there from day one. I loved America's Next Top Model. The show ran from 2003 to 2018, and I don't know why I didn't even realize the show ran that long in like that recently of 2018, probably because I stopped watching way before that, child. But I also didn't realize I was the big age of 16, 17 in 2003 when this aired. I don't know why. Also in my memory I was way younger. I don't know why I thought I was like 14, but I was 16, 17, 2003. I didn't care anything about fashion. I didn't care anything about modeling, taking pictures, child. But I loved America's Next Top Model. But I also was a huge like pop culture girly. I was very into pop culture. I was very into reality TV. We know that during the big demic, a lot of us was binging TV, going back, watching old movies, old TV shows, and something that got a resurgence was America's Next Top Model. And folks was coming for Tyra. They were coming with their pitchforks. It was insane. My cat be playing with my hair like it's a toy. Like, y'all, see the cat? Well, she's on the back of my chair. Y'all, this cat, the kitten. She's a kitten. I be calling her a cat. She's a kitten. Barely 6 months. She be running amok, acting a fool. It's Black History Month. She think it's her month. She's chewing on the chair. Do I need to give this review like this? Like, am I gonna have to be sat like this for the whole review? I'm talking about America's Next Top Model. Now, America's Next Top Model got a resurgence, and one thing that people tend to do, whether it's Moesha, whether it's Martin, is look at old television with modern eyes through a modern lens, and everybody was coming for Tyra neck, and now we got the documentary. But I thought Tyra was ready to really talk about the show. Y'all, she wasn't ready. Y'all, Tyra wasn't ready. Tyra wasn't ready. She wasn't giving what I wanted her to give. But let's start from the top. And I'm not really going to hit on every single solitary thing that the documentary went over. I'm pretty much going to hit on like the main things, at least for me, throughout the run and legacy of America's Next Top Model. But one thing I will say is, I don't know why, but I never knew this was really Tyra's brainchild. Like, this was Tyra's show. She thought up the show. She came up with the idea. She pitched it. And this was really her thing. I don't know why I always just thought she was a host. You know, like, okay, we got this model. Like, she's a part of it. But I didn't know this was her thing. So watching this, I thought that was really cool. What they opened the documentary with is the infamous "I was rooting for you" Tyra scream, Tyra yelling at baby girl, yelling at Tiffany. The infamous "I was rooting for you." So the full scope of that situation was Tiffany had been on a previous season. She didn't make it. She got into a fight. So what the audience didn't know was, behind the scenes, Tyra tells us that behind the scenes, Tyra really believed in this girl and worked with her after she got kicked off the previous season. Tyra production, they did a lot of work behind the scenes to help this girl. She took anger management. Like, they just did a lot to work on her and put a lot into her. And it came off as like Tyra, I guess, saw herself in this girl, or I don't know, just was in some way emotionally invested in this girl. And it also came across from a production standpoint that she was kind of touted to win when they brought her back, because of course we know it's a modeling competition, but it's also a TV show, and they like to have certain narratives, certain stories. And I guess she was supposed to be like rags to riches, single mom to model, type of thing, type of story. And apparently, I guess she didn't want to go. She didn't want to go along with that story speculatively. But behind the scenes, she was helping old girl, and Tyra just pretty much says that she was kind of impassioned. Like, she was yelling at her because she loved her, and she had just put a lot into the girl. So what ended up culminating to the situation where she got eliminated was they had to do a challenge to read from a teleprompter. And pretty much like they said in the documentary, the challenge was to set them up to fail. There were a bunch of like French names, a bunch of words that they knew the girls wouldn't get, but presumably the point was to kind of just be professional, be a good sport, roll with it, show your personality, even if you fumble, kind of just go with it. But Tiffany reading aloud, she pretty much gave up. And Tyra says everybody messed up. That was kind of the point. And you were actually the best reader of all the girls, but you just gave up. And it came off to me. Now, I honestly don't remember a ton in real time when it aired, but from the clips they showed us in the documentary, it felt like Tiffany was just embarrassed to read aloud in general, because she walks off and she says this was humiliating or something along those lines. Now, Tyra said something that I thought was kind of crazy. Tyra didn't like the fact that when she was eliminated, she's saying goodbye and kind of being, I guess, funny and just kind of like she's not kind of nonchalant. And I get what Tiffany was saying. Tyra's upset that she's not acting devastated, and everybody put a lot into her and she was working for this. And she was like, you don't know what I'm feeling on the inside. And I get what Tiffany is coming from, because I feel like it's one of those put on a brave face kind of things. Like, some girls are going to cry and break down in the moment when they get eliminated, but some girls aren't. Like, some girls are just going to walk out with their head held high. They're going to make a little joke. And we all know a lot of times when people joke, it's kind of a deflective type of thing. It's a protective armor, like kind of that saying, laugh to keep from crying. So I personally get where Tiffany is coming from. I don't think she was taking it light. I think it was just like, well, I'm eliminated. Like, what do you want me to do? You want me to have a breakdown? And I personally hate when people tell you how you feel. Like, I feel like you can say, you don't look, it doesn't seem like you care, but I don't like when someone tells you you don't care. My mother actually used to say that to me a lot when I was a teenager. I used to hate that. Like, you don't know how I feel. Yeah, I could be having an attitude or acting nonchalant, but that could just be a defense mechanism. That could just be what I'm giving you on the exterior. It doesn't necessarily always equate to how a person is feeling on the inside. And I feel like this is hard in real time. This wasn't as scandalous to me as a viewer as it was to everybody else. I don't like yelling. I've been that way since I was a child. I don't like people yelling at me. It kind of, as a kid, it would really kind of break my spirit. I don't know. It may sound melodramatic, but I don't respond well. I don't do well with people yelling at me. And Tyra saying like she's yelling at her, like when my mother yells at me, it's because she loves me. Like, I'm yelling because I love you. And that's not how I receive love. I don't receive love like that. My mother never yelled at me ever. Number one, she's just not a yeller. But number two, like I'm not even going to listen to you at that point. Like, if you're yelling at me, I'm shut down. I'm not even listening. This is why I say I thought we were doing a documentary when we were ready to really talk about stuff. They didn't really dig into this situation. First of all, Tiffany wasn't on a documentary. Second of all, Mr. J tells us, J Emanuel says he will never repeat what was said that day, that the audience didn't even see all of the confrontation or the conversation. We didn't get all of what Tyra said. But Jay says lawyers were called. Like, lawyers had to come on set. And I want to know what was said. And Tiffany ain't very happy with Tyra. There was an interview that they showed Tiffany did afterwards where she's like, Tyra claims she did that because she loves me, but if you love somebody, don't humiliate them. So I wish I know they got that motherfucking footage. Go call UPN. I know y'all got that footage archived somewhere. I wish they would have showed the uncut, unedited confrontation for the documentary, and I wish Tiffany would have been there to speak on it, and I wish Tyra would have really spoken on it, like for real spoke on it, because I feel like it's hard to kind of have an opinion when we don't have the full story. But when old girl says, if you love me, you wouldn't humiliate me, if you know someone's like struggle or story, or you help people, it can be humiliating, and it is wrong to like throw it at them, especially around people. Because what we did hear Tyra say is, your grandmother got her lights cut off because she bought you to buy you a swimsuit for this competition. That's embarrassing. I mean, that's embarrassing. My grandmother got her lights cut off because she used the money to buy me a swimsuit for. That's embarrassing. That's personal. That's private. That's sensitive. So, and then I don't know if this is true, but apparently I heard someone say that like Tyra said something about, do you want to go back home and be sleeping on an air mattress with your baby? See, stuff like that, we crossing lines. That's not love. Like, we're crossing lines. But like I said, I can't really have a complete opinion on it because we don't have the full story. But I will say, from what we know, I get both sides. Tyra said she had a moment, and we know this was a passion thing for Tyra as a black girl, as a black woman in this industry. And I personally think on Tyra's side, it was some love. It was love. It was rooting for her. It was being disappointed in her. It was putting a lot in her outside of the show, behind the scenes, putting stuff into her. And I think it was some projection on Tyra's part. Maybe seeing some of herself in this girl. And then on Tiffany's side, like I said, I get everything from her. First of all, don't yell at me. I have a hard line when it comes. You're not gonna yell at me. Like, I'm never in my life going to just stand and let somebody yell at me, because I'm gonna walk out in the middle of you talking and yelling before I just stand there. That's what they opened the show with, and with, like, you know, we have the memes and people reenacting it and all of that stuff. But I just wish they would have really for real got into this. And I would really like to know why Tiffany wasn't here for the documentary. Now we get into the whole brainchild, and I feel like I have a lot of respect for Tyra. Everything she went through in the industry, being told to her face that, like, we don't want you because you black. Your lips too big. I can't stand full lip people being told they got big lips, because full lips and big lips are two different things. Telling Tyra Banks her lips too big, y'all can go to hell. Y'all can go straight to hell. Also, this being her brainchild, her thinking this up and seeking out a very successful television, I think the Asian guy's like a television producer, television exec, whatever, to help build the show with her. She pitches it to a ton of networks, and she gets told no, 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 no. Models are vapid. Nobody's sympathetic to models. Nobody's going to want to see this. No, nobody thought it was a good idea. So I respect her resilience. I respect her struggle, her story. We're going to get into Tyra though, child, but I don't have all negative opinions of Tyra. I have a lot of respect for Tyra. They're able to finally get a yes from UPN. And if you was there, you know, UPN was where the blacks went. That's where the black shows was, okay? Half and Half, Moesha. I think that's what Homeboys in Outer Space was. Ain't that what Homeboys in Outer Space was? But they was going to say yes to the blacks. A lot of people say the blacks built that network, because we know it ended up turning into the WB, and that's when they got rid of all the blacks, and then all the white shows came in, like Popular and the shows that I loved. But season 1, and one thing that I thought was really interesting was, I as an audience always was like, why is the show so white? It's always a ton of white models, and we get like 1-2 black girls. But it's still, even though the show is helmed by a black woman, it felt like we were still kind of the tokens. It would be 1-2. We were never the majority. We were always the minority. And I thought it was interesting. And Tyra does say about another situation, like a boss has a boss. Everybody has somebody to answer to. This was Tyra was the head of the show, but she wasn't the head of the network. And the Asian guy and Tyra, they're like, their idea of diversity wasn't the network's idea of diversity. The network felt like one black person, that's diverse. And I feel like people still feel that way today. That irks my... One black person does not diversity make. We are going to get into my girl Ebony from season 1. She was my personal fan favorite when I watched the show. Ebony was done so dirty. Ebony got the stereotypical angry black girl edit. She was treated like the angry black... Nothing about that girl was angry. I mean, let's just be honest. Nothing. I remember watching Ebony in real time. Nothing about that girl was angry. And it's really interesting to me when they show the clip of Tyra telling her, every week you come in with a chip on your shoulder and angry. The expression of Ebony's face when I feel like Ebony was like shocked, like, chip? What chip on my shoulder? Like, I feel like Ebony ain't know what the hell Tyra was talking about. Because, ma'am, chip where? I feel like it's interesting how, and this is why I say I'm not on board with the Tyra hate train. Tyra did a lot of ish wrong, but I'm not on board with Tyra hate train. I give Tyra a lot of grace. Tyra was a product of her time. Tyra was a product of her industry, and it's very unfortunate, and this happens a lot. It seems to me that the same stereotypes and industry that Tyra wanted to fight against, she perpetuated. She internalized a lot of the stereotypes and became part of the problem she wanted to fight against. And it really is glaringly obvious in Tyra's narrative and interaction with Ebony. And I feel like it's really interesting the stuff Tyra fought against as a black woman, but then the things she perpetuated, because obviously we know there are different types of black people in general. There are different types of black girls, right? You got the light-skinned black girls, the light bright black girls. You got the light brown, the brown-skinned black girls, dark-skinned brown black girls, big feature black girls, smaller feature black girls. Like, you got a lot of different types of black girl, right? And Tyra arguably is one of the more acceptable black girl. Now, she ain't the light-skinned, light bright, wavy hair black girl, but she's on the spectrum of the more acceptable black girl. So she still had to break down barriers, but unfortunately, as a light skin, light eye black girl, she perpetuated some harmful stereotypes that I don't even know if she was conscious of, because Ebony is the dark-skinned black girl. Ebony was dark-skinned. Ebony was bald. They shouldn't even touch that girl hair. That girl hair was bomb. She was bald. She had a little thing of hair in the middle. They ended up completely shaving it. She was sassy and bold in the best ways. I love the reaction when they are announcing the contestants and she like cries, but then she gets herself to, it's like so sassy and so love it. But I feel like Ebony, to me, should have been the winner of America's Next Top Model for the first season. Like, and I say that in a sense that Ebony literally represented everything Tyra said she wanted to fight against. It's kind of like how people say, how come all the R&B girls and the black actresses look like they all passed the brown paper bag test? It's kind of like how people was mad when the lead black girl in The Hate U Give was changed from dark skin in the books to light skin in the movie. Like, there are still barriers that dark skinned black women have to fight against, black women and girls, that unfortunately Tyra perpetuated. Ebony was lesbian. She was just, it was so much that the early 2000s wasn't ready for. Speaking of Ebony being lesbian, child, that little girl in the show, in America's Next Top Model, who said, and I quote, "Ebony is a lesbian and I find that offensive." Girl, if you don't go straight to hell. Because why are you offended? Excuse me, ma'am. Do you know what offensive means? Do you know what offended means? Like, one thing that I do love about watching or going back to stuff during this time is I just love how I was always very progressive, even as a child. Like, when I go back and think about the fact that I'm so happy I've never been homophobic a day in my life. Like, I'm so happy I have always been accepting and inclusive every single day that I have been on this earth. Thank you, Jesus. Of course, everybody has the grace and room to grow and learn, but I'm so happy that of all the growth I've had to have, I've always been on the right side of history. Because the way I never batted an eye at somebody being gay or trans or like what any of the above. Like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Now, what I will say, I love having a side part, but I hate my hair being in my face. And I asked her to do my retwist kind of going to the back, but that one lock keep falling forward, child. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I want everybody to realize, I'm not with the people who want to grab pitchforks and go against Tyra and have this whole hate train for Tyra Banks. You know who the real villain is? It ain't Tyra. It's that Asian guy. Bet when I tell you that's the real villain, that's the real villain. The way, first of all, he wasn't taking no type of responsibility for nothing under the stars. The way the show talks about the treatment of the girls, trigger warning, eating disorders, and all kind of stuff like that. The way they weren't taking care of their health, they were putting the modeling, the competition, wanting to win above it, and it was pretty much kind of rewarded, like it kind of pushed that that's what you need to do. The way that Asian guy had the nerve to say people was having 104 temperatures, people was needing, the girls was need, not people, the girls was having 104 temperature, girls was needing IVs. They was, I love that stuff. We need that stuff. Sir, excuse me, say what now, sir? Sir, say what now, sir? The way I'm telling y'all that Asian guy is the villain y'all think Tyra is, because my thing is Tyra don't take responsibility for that child. No, she don't. But Tyra don't glow and be happy in the ish. This dude was smiling and like, yeah, them bitches was sick and we loved it. They was in there shaking and convulsing, and that's the footage we needed. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. But I feel like it's one thing that has been very shocking to people is the fat shaming of America's Next Top Model. And I don't know if it's because I was there in real time. First of all, Kenya being framed as fat, I thought that was insane in 2003. But that was the time. And I don't know, it's not as shocking to me as they're going through the documentary. I know the response people have had on social media going back on America's Next Top Model, and maybe because I lived it. And I thought this stuff was crazy at the time, and I know that's not what society thought or pop culture, but me personally, I thought Kenya being framed fat was completely psychotic. I thought Whitney being considered a plus size model as a size 6 was like, I thought that stuff was insane at the moment, and I was just like, well, child, that's just the world, child. But it's not, I don't know, I don't have the reaction that people are having on social media, and like I said, maybe because I lived it. But I will say, was the fat shaming and the body stuff with the girls absolutely motherfucking dead wrong, however you flip it? Yes. But what I will say, of all the stuff we're going to heap on Tyra and America's Next Top Model, and, you know, the blame and accountability that we want them to take, personally, I'm not holding fat shaming against them. And I know, I hear you, I know. I don't blame them for the fat shaming. Yes, it was wrong, but this was the early 2000s, babe. This was the reality of the modeling world. It was the reality of the entertainment world. It was the reality of the world. It was the reality of pop culture. The girl even says in the documentary about how heroin chic was still in. Like, do y'all not understand? Heroin chic was a real thing. Heroin chic. Yeah, that ish was real. And it's wild, but that ish was real. Pop culture was harsh to young girls at that time. This was 25 years ago. It's kind of like people coming at Brandy about Moesha fat shaming Kim. First of all, Brandy didn't write the script, y'all. Calm down. But there was a lot of fat shaming. There was fat shaming of Newman on Seinfeld. Like, that was the time. And the reason I also say I don't hold it against them is when we look back on stuff like this, I feel like it's a good thing that we're so kind of far removed from that as a society. It's a good thing that we're seeing something so outrageous that wouldn't fly today. I would hope that when 25 years passes, we're saying, yeah, we don't do that no more. Yeah, that don't fly around here. That's a good thing. I don't think we should really be condemning. We should be condemning them for a lot of stuff. But the fat shaming, to me, isn't one of the things we should condemn them for. It's one of the things that we should be happy as a society. Now, child, we still got issues when it comes to how we treat women and when it comes to body stuff. But this stuff, this body shaming, fat shaming, calling a size 6 girl plus, that stuff wouldn't fly today. And that's a good thing. But I will say, child, why was Tyra here? I don't even know why Tyra was here. Y'all, Tyra's so full of shit and ain't even funny. And like I said, I got a lot of respect for Tyra. I actually really like Tyra. But baby, we got to call a spade a spade. Tyra's so full of shit. When Tyra go to say the only way you get better is by someone calling you out on your shit. And I hope you ready for the day when someone calls you out on your shit, just like they did me, because it's the only way you'll evolve. Oh, and it's gonna happen. They gonna call you on your shit. Tyra, girl, baby, please. And first of all, yo, why was Tyra talking like this in the documentary? Tyra comes off so inauthentic, so rehearsed, so out of touch with reality. And it was very jarring to me because the Tyra I grew up knowing felt very personable, felt very girl next door, felt very fun, felt very authentic. But like I said, I got a lot of respect for Tyra. Oh, and speaking of all the stuff Tyra went through that I have respect for, y'all, the way that old spilled milk, clumpy yogurt, spoiled milk, clumpy yogurt in the sun white lady was talking about Tyra Banks, the way she was talking about Tyra was so disgusting and denigrating. Like, denigrating her because she was in a swimsuit on the cover of a magazine. Y'all, that was just, but y'all, this was the, see, this I'm talking about. Y'all ain't even seen a half of it. All the new age kids that's judging this era, y'all don't even know the half of how people would proudly, publicly be talking about black women, black girls, and girls in general. It was a wild time. It was wild. The way she was talking about Tyra was insane. Insanity. That's why I'm like, I have a lot of respect for Tyra and what she carried and what she went through. But what I will say when it comes to the responsibility that I wish they would have taken, I think it was Danielle who said she does think that Tyra's intentions were good in the beginning, but that shit got lost. I absolutely agree. I think Tyra absolutely had nothing but the best intentions when she went into this. She said, like, that was the point. This was for all the agencies, all the people that said no to her, who closed doors on her. She wanted to show the world that, because at that time, the beauty standard was then white, white girl. And Tyra wanted to show there's different shades, sizes, different variations of beauty. But I think the madness of where we were as a society was also embedding itself in Tyra. In the early 2000s, I always say the early 2000s was like the Wild West. It was a lawless time. You literally had grown men on TV publicly and proudly declaring how they couldn't wait for teenage girls to turn 18 years old. Counting down till teenage girls turn 18. Which is so disgusting and predatory, because basically what you're saying is you're sexually attracted to them now, but legally you gotta wait till they're 18. Like, that's disgusting. You're talking about children. Like, that's just, but y'all, this was accepted. People said this proudly and publicly. This wasn't no barbershop secret talk with your homeboys. This stuff was said publicly. You literally had journalists asking Britney Spears about her virginity when she was a teenager. I will never in my life forget being there as a young girl in real time, listening to Justin Timberlake on a Howard Stern show disrespecting Britney Spears about taking her virginity. And I hate to use the term taking virginity, but I'm speaking in the context of how he was speaking in that interview. The alarming questions and comments that journalists would ask female singers and female actresses in that era, y'all, the 2000s was a lawless time. It was the Wild West, I'm telling you. Now, is Tyra responsible for her actions 100%? But Tyra ain't taking no responsibility, but I get where she's coming from, where she's like, yeah, the public was demanding this, so we just gave y'all what y'all wanted. I mean, she ain't wrong. It's a cop-out, but she ain't wrong. Because of all the wild stuff y'all want to say Tyra did on this show, society accepted it. Nobody went at Tyra in real time about the wild ish they did on this show. I think Danny was right, and Tyra, starting with good intentions, all it got lost. With Ebony, with the race swapping stuff, with the body shaming, because in one moment she's going against Janice Dickinson. Y'all, I used to love Janice Dickinson. That lady, I never agreed with her, but that lady was good TV. That lady was a good time. But the way she would be fighting against Janice Dickinson, who was gonna body shame the fuck out of everybody, but then also Tyra would be doing the same. Product of her time. I think Tyra's goal was maybe, I want to say, too broad, because her goal was to break stereotypes and boundaries and give these girls real chances, but also her goal was to have a successful show and to be successful. And I think the reality of the time was she couldn't do both of those things. Or she could, but maybe wouldn't have had the longevity and success she did. I think ultimately her goal became more of chasing the success than breaking the barriers and stereotypes. And if we honest, Mr. J Manuel basically says he sold his soul and morals to be on the show. That's not what he said verbatim, but that's what I got. Because he pretty much says he knew in real time the blackface and the race swapping photo shoot was very ill-advised, to say the least. That it was very wrong, and he specifically asked not to be a part of it. But it was a lot that he just thought wasn't right and was wrong, but he just went along with it. And he goes to say, well, I had a job to do, I just did my job. That's such a cop-out, because we all have a certain power when it comes to ourselves and our actions, and we all have a choice. Now, your choice may lead to you being unemployed and not having a job, but we still have a choice. So I feel like I would much rather you say, you know what, because you could tell he was kind of saying it was chipping away at his soul, but I feel like you gotta just be honest and say, look, I wanted to keep the job, so I sold my soul to do that. And when it comes to the race swapping and blackface stuff, again, very wrong. I don't know what the hell was wrong. Tyra said she was in her own little bubble, her own little world. Child. All the eyes that this ish got to pass through, somebody should have known something was a no-no. But this was one of those situations where you have good intentions, but you do something really mother freaking stupid. Tyra's intent was to celebrate different cultures, show that beauty can come from different cultures. But what I think would have been more appropriate is to not race swap anybody, but the same way they would have extras, like they had male models in there with the girls, have real Indian women in the photo shoot. Like, go get real women from these cultures to be in the photo shoot with the girls to show what her intent was of showing like different beauty and stuff. But this is also the race swapping is a good example of why I say we can't give Tyra too much hell, because society accepted this. Tyra didn't race swap and blackface these girls just one time. No, she did it once, and then she did it years later because society was accepting of this. Like, they did a photo shoot where the girls pretended to be homeless, and they had real homeless people in the background. Like, they went up to people saying, hey, you want a sandwich? Let us take a photo. Like, disgusting. They did a photo shoot where the girls pretended to be on drugs and have bulimia. They did all kind of wild stuff. Each season, basically, the challenges and the photos got crazier and crazier. Now, when it comes to the crazy challenges, like the girls walking on water, to me, that's not a big deal. That's not crossing any ethical lines. I actually thought when they were walking on a runway challenge with the pendulum swinging, that's still cool today. That's cool to say. I like that. That was cool. Stuff like that is like, okay, we trying to up the ante, but we're not crossing any ethical boundaries. But unfortunately, it wasn't all just fun and games like the walking on water or having a photo shoot with the spider. It was crossing ethical lines and boundaries. Oh yeah, and I also don't like Mr. J seemingly trying to act like, like he just took a passive role, because he specifically says, in something we'll get into later, that he had a certain amount of power, but then things changed and he became only on-screen talent and didn't have the power he had before. So before you were simply on-screen talent, why didn't you speak up? Like, I just don't like the fact that he acted like he was just in like this passive role. I don't know, that really bothered me. But the show crossed so many ethical lines. It just went like really crazy and above and beyond. Of course, we know the girls always got makeovers, but the makeovers was like cutting your hair, dyeing your hair, like stuff that isn't permanent. You can always grow out your hair, you know what I mean, dye it back. But then they moved to actual, and I'm surprised they didn't go to breast jobs and injections, like, but they went to dental medical procedures, which I thought was such insanity. So 2 girls were tasked with their makeover being going to the dentist, right? You had Danielle, who had a gap that she did not want to close, that they wanted her to close. And you had another girl who had, I don't know if this is the term for it, but she called it in the documentary a snaggletooth. And she was happy to get that snaggletooth fixed. She was embarrassed about it. But Danielle did not want to get her gap closed. She liked her gap. She had no problem with her gap. And this is one of those things that, again, Tyra don't take no responsibility. And all the grace I gave her earlier, I cannot give Tyra grace in this. Tyra was pressuring the hell out of that girl to close her gap, and it was dead wrong. Once somebody says no, it's no. Like, this is this girl's bodily autonomy. She didn't want to close her gap. And I can see suggesting it, but I don't think she should have been pressured to do it. And I like that she stood her ground and said, I don't want to close my gap. But she was basically coerced into it, because Tyra pretty much tells her, close your gap or you going home. And I actually really like Danielle's like story. I wish it would have worked out better for her in the sense of America's Next Top Model. She was in this small town, just poor, and her brother was telling her, you should be on America's Next Top Model. And she was like, heck no. They embarrass them girls. They exploit them girls. So she knew, again, somebody else who knew in real time, this ish wasn't necessarily right. But he's like, you can take this opportunity though. You can use it. We will never have the money to send you to New York, but you can get there with this show. And she does it off the strength of her brother, and she wins. Like, that should have been such a mother freaking Cinderella fairy tale story. It pisses me off, but we'll get into Danny later. But the point is, she ends up closing her gap. But you know, the fickle thing of beauty standards. The fickle monster of beauty standards, which is why I don't believe in doing permanent things to yourself, because beauty standards change like the wind. It's kind of like how I literally spent my entire youth being picked on for having big lips. And then the very people who used to clown me for having big lips injected their lips to make them bigger. Like, now it's like the thing. It's like, oh my God, your lips. Oh, that's not how it started. That's not how it started. So fast forward, after they forced her to close her gap. Oh, and in Tyra's defense, I guess, Tyra says, because Tyra's whole thing is, even if things didn't look very kosher, it was all coming from a good place. Tyra said that she was specifically told by agencies. No one will work with Danielle. No, she will not work. No one will hire her with that gap. So that's why Tyra is like, I had her close her gap. I knew she wouldn't get work. Okay, child. But fast forward, and now it's okay to have things that are deemed imperfect. Now it's seen as unique or cool or exotic. And they have a young lady who they send to the dentist to create a gap in her mouth years later. Bitch, the way if I was Danielle, I would have, oh, child, I'm finna smack fire out of everybody. But do you know how painful dental work is? That girl who got the snaggletooth fixed, they effed that girl over. She said she has dental issues to this day when it comes to her bite. Your bite is so freaking important. Like, have you ever gone to the dentist and, like, even if you get, like, I don't, like a crown and they have to check your bite, make sure your bite is right. Like, different stuff that can happen with your mouth. When you're biting and chewing down, you need to have a certain, like, way your bite is supposed to fall and fit. And she said she has problems to this day. They were supposed to fix the snaggletooth. They pulled her teeth. They pulled out like 5 of her teeth. She was in that dental chair for hours. They showed she was in that chair and it was 10 p.m. 1 a.m. Crazy work. Crazy work. Dental work ain't no joke. I don't even know how you do big procedures like this same day. Like, and then the thing that got me was baby who they wanted, I think it was baby who they wanted to close her gap. No, I think it was a white girl. Oh, was it a white girl? I can't remember, but somebody was saying before getting a dental procedure, like she had to sign a consent form then and there. She couldn't. Oh, the amount of times that different girls, contestants said that they didn't have access to a phone. Abusive. Sorry. Abusive. Scary. But the fact that baby couldn't even, she said I couldn't even call my mother before the do y'all not understand how at that age I'm calling my mama for every motherfucking thing? Mama, they done said I need the mama, the dentist said they got a mama, the doctor talking about. Babe, I was calling my mama. Let's be honest, I'm still calling her for everything today. But the point is, that young, oh, I'm calling my mama for every motherfucking thing. Y'all are not about to do a major dental medical procedure on my mouth and I can't call my mama? Oh, I'm calling y'all. If I don't do nothing else, if I don't do nothing else, I'm calling my mama. To this day, if I don't do nothing else, I'm calling my mama. Mama, they talking about, mama, do this sound right to you? Mama, they said, baby, I'm calling my mother. And I ain't too proud to say, I'm calling my mama. You gonna give me access to a phone, baby. But I just feel like that is such an abusive tactic to not, and that's what abusers do, to not allow outside influence. Like, to, baby, you crazy. Baby, you crazy. And I feel like that's something that is a bit lost in the sauce as well, is these girls were young women, 18 to 21-year-old. Like, you're still learning how to be an adult. Like, you are being put in general in situations you've never been in before, that you're learning how to navigate and learning how to handle. And in that, you're not going to make perfect decisions. You're in certain situations for the very first time. You're not experienced. You haven't been around the block to know certain things. You're handling and confronting situations for the very first time in your life. You're still, like, you're fresh out of a high school mindset. You're fresh out of being a child and you're thrust into adulthood. I hate how you turn 18 and people are like, well, you're an adult now. Like, you're just thrust from child to adult. Like, that age of 18 to 21 is still, like, you're not fully an adult. You're a young adult. You're learning how to be an adult. You're getting, you know how people say you see legs? You're getting your adult legs. Like, you're learning how to do a lot of stuff, which is also why I hate how they were very exploited. They were very unprotected. So let's get into some of the more egregious things that I can't give Tyra or none of the folks any grace for. So one young lady, Kenya, talks about how they were tasked with doing a photo shoot where they had 3 male models in the photo shoot with each girl, and you were supposed to be dancing, right? Well, before we even get on set to take the photo, there is one male model who's tasked with being in the photo with Kenya, who is being very sexually aggressive towards her, asks her for her phone number. And now once they're in front of the cameras to do the photo shoot, she's very uncomfortable because he keeps touching her and all kind of stuff. And during the photo shoot, she's uncomfortable. He's touching her. He's been crossing boundaries, being sexually aggressive the whole time. And she's trying to figure out, how do I handle this situation? Again, being a young adult in threatening situations for the very first time, trying to navigate what decisions you should make. And her go-to, and that's something else that I feel like they didn't cover enough in this show, them girls idolize Tyra Banks. In this era, the girls idolize Tyra Banks. I will literally equate it to the way the girls idolize Beyonce. The girls mother freaking idolize Tyra Banks. She was like... So the girl, Kenya, is thinking, well, how would Tyra handle this? And in her mind, she's thinking, well, Tyra would be professional and try to be polite and tell like the people that are supposed to be the authority of this situation, which is the creative director, Mr. J, and a photographer. So that's what she does. The way Mr. J reacted when baby stops the photo shoot pissed me off so freaking bad. And when I tell you, I was literally a young girl who would be I'm talking about 14, 15, and if you know, you was 14, 15, grown behind men be trying to hit on you. I was that young girl who was going to be a bitch. I was going to be a jerk. I was going to be aggressive. Like, I was going to be forceful. No. Leave me alone. I don't care. You don't even know what I was finna say. No. But can I just no? Like, I'm going to react very harsh to unwanted flirtation and unwanted sexual attention. But the thing with this era is, if you reacted not very pleasantly, you are going to get more hate than the guy that's giving you the unwanted advances. I would literally have homegirls mad at, why you gotta act like that? Why you can't just be cool? I don't want him to touch me. I don't want him to talk to me. I told him to leave me alone. I don't care. I'm gonna be a jerk. Because I learned at a very young age, if I don't stand up for myself, nobody else will. And that's just the name of the game. And Kenya learned that in this moment. Because baby, Kenya, I would have turned to them, get the fuck away from me. I would have been forceful. But Kenya looked to who she felt she should have been looking to say, hey, I'm uncomfortable. Hey, I'm having a problem. And she expected them to step in, and they did not. There were so many situations where production should have stepped in for these girls. Jay Manuel should have stepped in. The authority of the shoot, the photographer should have stepped in. Tyra should have stepped in. Nobody stepped in. Nobody was advocating for these girls. Nobody was protecting these girls. And that is so egregious, because she was completely sexually harassed in this situation. And I love in the documentary when they're playing back what the judges were saying to her. And she's like, hold on, can you pause that? And she calls out the judges for the picture they used. Because they took a lot of shots and they pick your best. She said the picture they used is literally a photo. It's literally a photo of him grabbing me. And he's literally grabbing her thigh close to her behind. And you can see the other models being professional, not touching her. There was no need for that young man to be touching her. And you know who got all the flack? Kenya. The way Mr. J says to her, we're in a professional setting. You need to tell the male model we're in a professional setting. Because if you are in a professional setting, you should not be asking me for my phone number. That's unprofessional. If we are in a professional setting, you should not be caressing my leg, grabbing me, touching me. That's unprofessional. In the documentary, I needed Jay and Nigel to take way more responsibility for how they handled this. And you could even see Nigel cringe when they played back what he said at the judging table to Kenya. And he should have been, you know what? I handled that wrong. I didn't know then what I know now. And if I was in that situation today, I would have handled it completely different. We should have had that girl back. That young man should not have been touching her. That young man should not have been hitting on her aggressively. That young man should not have asked her for her phone number. Young man should not have touched her. He should not have grabbed her. I was wrong. I hated the way Jay and Nigel did not take any responsibility. Y'all know Tyra ain't taking no responsibility. If Tyra don't do nothing else, she ain't gonna take no responsibility. Oh, and what also pissed me off was when she goes to speak up during the photo shoot, Jay has enough to say, well, there's 50 people on set, implying that, well, it's a bunch of people here. You're not alone with this guy. Nothing's going to happen. Excuse me, sir. 50 people are here and I'm still being sexually harassed. 50 people are here and this young man is touching me when I don't want him to touch me. 50 people are here and this young man is being sexually aggressive towards me. 50 people are here and this young man is grabbing my thigh right below my ass. 50 people are here and I'm being taking it. Okay. Now this was the stuff that I felt was egregious. The fat shame. You know what? I can give y'all grace with all that stuff. But this here, and especially is more egregious because nobody's taking accountability even 25 years later. Nobody is saying, you know what? I was dead wrong. You know what? When I was on that set, I shouldn't have let that fly. And ultimately, it is your responsibility. It is your responsibility. When I did my short film, as the director, it is my responsibility to make sure everybody on my set is comfortable. If an actress would have told me, hey, my co-star's making me feel uncomfortable, my co-star's being sexually aggressive, that is my responsibility to step in and advocate for her and protect her and be like, hey, this isn't going to fly on my set. This isn't how we do stuff on my set. That's your set. You're the quote unquote authority figure on that set. And it's your responsibility that everybody conducts themselves in a professional manner and that nobody is being made to feel uncomfortable or unsafe. And baby was very unsafe. And the dude who was doing the stuff just standing there looking like a dope when she's saying, he didn't get no flack. He didn't get nothing. Tyra didn't really take any real responsibility. And I will say I understand Tyra's rationale in what she was, in how she said, I'm trying to use like nice words because it was a cop out. Like she was kind of, y'all know Tyra ain't gonna take no responsibility, but I understand her rationale for what she was saying. She was saying to Kenya at the judging table because Kenya stopped the shoot, right, hoping other people would check old boy, right, and I don't see nothing wrong with that course of action. Like I said, you're going to the people who you feel are the authority in the moment. You're doing what you feel is professional, right? Me personally, I would have checked the young man myself, but that's just me. I would never tell no woman to do what I do because the reality is it is very unsafe for women. That is why women try to just be real nice and just smile and no thank you or lie. I have a boyfriend. No, because it can be very unsafe for a woman to spurn a man's advances. I don't give a and I'm gonna say get the fuck out my face. And my aunt told me for a long time, you're gonna go across the wrong one, you're gonna come across the wrong. But to me, I shouldn't be made to, no, leave me alone. But I think Kenya felt she was doing the responsible thing. She felt she was doing the right thing, right? And I get Tyra's rationale for the advice she gave and what she said to her. Tyra tried to pretty much say, in the moment when they showed the clip, that hey, if he's doing something like this, then in a fun way, in a nice, like basically be nice nasty, in a fun way, just kind of slap his hand away, like make the boundaries without messing up his vibe and the vibe of the set, and let's just keep everything fun and kosher. And I get from Tyra's standpoint, as a woman in the industry, as a black woman in the industry, she understands how quickly and easily you can be labeled difficult to work with, having an attitude, aggressive, and all of those things. Like I said, I don't care about being called that stuff, but it's real and I get it. And I think that's where Tyra was coming from. Now, should I be worried as the person being sexually harassed about ruining the person harassing me energy or anybody on set energy? No, I shouldn't have to worry about that. Because you're ruining my energy. You're being aggressive towards me. But I get why Tyra said that. So I'm going to give Tyra a little grace for that because I get where she was coming from and why she handled the situation the way she did. It's one of those things where I personally feel like Tyra did the best she could with the information she had at the time. And the information she had at the time was, let me try to help these black girls navigate within the system as is. And the way the system is, you don't want to cause too many waves. You don't want to cause too much ruckus. You don't want to kick up too much dust, even if you're kicking up dust because you're being mistreated. And I don't think she handled the situation in a bad way. I don't. She let it go on pretty long, but she was trying to be pleasant. She was trying to be professional. She was turning him down. She was clearly not interested. And she went to tell the people in authority, I'm uncomfortable. So I don't even think she handled the situation in not a good way. Everybody doesn't have the same personality. Everybody isn't going to be like forceful. Everybody isn't going to just perfectly know how to navigate and just, like Tyra said, oh, just be a little fun, just slap his hand away and it. But also going into being young in a situation for the first time. What really stuck out to me as the number one most egregious, tragic, traumatic thing is Shandi. And I feel like nobody was calling this what it was or what it seemed to me. Okay? So, Shandi, first of all, watching, everybody looked good. I know that's trivial beyond the point. Everybody looked so good. And I love seeing how good everybody looked. And I guess I kind of equate looking good to doing good, looking good to feeling good. So seeing everybody look so good, it made me happy. I always wondered what happened to them. I personally thought people went on to like have modeling careers, even if they didn't win, like if they made it to the top. So even though that didn't happen like I thought, seeing everybody look so good just kind of gave me the impression that everybody was thriving, everybody was happy, everybody was doing well. So I love seeing everybody look so good. Shandi looked so good. She looked so, I was like, when we first saw Shandi, but then they showed her on America's Next Top Model, I was like, oh, that's her? I didn't even realize she looked so different. I love her look. When we first saw Shandi, back when she was 18 working at Walgreens, she looked like some little nerdy pipsqueak, fresh off the prairie, kind of little white girl. But the Shandi today, she looks so edgy and cool. Like, I love Shandi's look. She looks so motherfucking gorgeous. Shandi, and this is our first time hearing Shandi talk about the situation. I saw it air in real time. I watched it, but this is the first time we hear Shandi give her side of the events, right? And Shandi goes to say how they were out on go-sees, so they were working all day. They were over in Milan, so they had these Italian guys like drive all the girls to their stuff all day. She gets back home. She said she don't really remember who said it, but somebody was like, hey, let's call the guys, have them come hang out. She hadn't eaten anything all day, and they tell us how all the girls was having eating disorders and stuff. One girl was eating pickles, and the girl was like, that's your lunch? Yep, that's all I'm eating is pickles. These girls were not being properly, I won't say they weren't being properly fed, because maybe the food was available, but it was very perpetuated for them to not really eat and to lose weight and to be thin. And Shandi goes say she hadn't eaten anything all day, and we all know it's very dangerous to drink alcohol when you ain't got nothing to sop it up. The boys come over, they're hanging out, they're drinking wine, they're in the hot tub. She has the whole hot tub kiss. I remember watching that in real time, very infamous. And it was very shocking to me at the time of watching it. Cause like I said, she seemed like one of the little girls from House on the Prairie. Like she seemed like such a little lamb. And Shandi is telling us that's the whole, situation. Hadn't eaten all this alcohol. And then that's something else where people will say, well, why did you get drunk? Well, why did you drink so much? Again, when you're 18 to 21, if you're living life by the law, you don't start drinking until you're 21. But let's be real, most people drink before they're 21. But you're still in an age where you're learning your limits. You may not, I know at 39 years old, nah, I'm done. I don't want more. Like, I know my limit. I'm a lightweight. I am a lightweight when it comes to alcohol. I have a hard rule. I don't take shots. I do not take shots. I don't care because I know I'm not finna take no straight liquor. I can't handle alcohol like that. But did I know that when I was taking shots like a mug when I was 18, 19, 20 and throwing up and being sick because you don't know your limit yet. And a lot of times, especially if you're in a situation where your adrenaline is high and you're partying, sometimes your alcohol just hits you all at once. So you don't even go through the phases of, oh, I feel a little tipsy. Oh, it's hitting me. Oh, shoot, now I'm drunk. No, you just jump straight to I'm motherfucking drunk because you're just throwing it back and having fun and adrenaline is pumping and then all of a sudden it hits you. I remember vividly being 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 and partying, having fun, drinking. And then all of a sudden I go to stand up and it's like, oh, shoot. You know that moment you get that wave and you be feeling a little topsy-turvy and it's like, oh, shoot, girl. Oh, are we on the boat? Because the room is it just hits you all of a sudden. So she goes to say, the whole situation was they got in the shower, production filmed every single solitary thing. They get in the bed, have intercourse, production films every single solitary thing. Shandi says she was so drunk, she blacked out, she woke up and the guy was on top of her. Nobody would say the word. No, not even Shandi. Nobody was calling a spade, but to me, Shandi was sexually assaulted. Sandy was raped. I mean, that's what it gave to me. And Shandi was saying once she got out of the hot tub, she doesn't understand. Like, she feels like production should have stepped in and said, okay, this has gone too far. And they absolutely should have. And honestly, I'm going to put some responsibility on the other girls. And I know people probably feel like, I'm putting some, not a lot, but I'm putting some responsibility on the other girls. Because I distinctly remember being this age and drinking and hanging out. And me and my god sister, if we saw a girl who was clearly intoxicated, about to go to some back room with a guy or anything like that, we stepped in. I will never forget one time we were hanging out at a club and this girl was clearly so intoxicated. Her friends left her with the guy and the guy was then we get outside and we see that the guy is trying to put this drunk girl in his car and she clearly, it seems to us that she clearly don't want to go, but she can't really fight. She's she's wasted. We don't even know this girl. We went over there and this dude was about to knock our head off. Like, he got so aggressive. I thought he was finna get violent. He was so mad. We pulled that girl from over there. We was like, nah, we're not finna let this happen. If you see somebody, I just feel like there's a certain level of humanity and a certain level of decency. Yes, people are grown adults and yes, they can make their own decisions. And you can say, oh, this person chose to get that drunk. They chose to drink. Maybe they're choosing to have sex with this person, choosing to go home. We all know that alcohol, you're not in your right mind. You can drink to the point that you are not in your right mind. Sometimes you drink to the point that it just lowers your inhibitions and you want to do this, but it incapacitates people. And if I see a girl is clearly intoxicated, I'm going to step in and be like, you sure you want to do this? Or if they ain't even in the right mind to even let me ask that question, like they can answer in the right mind, I'm just going to pull them out the situation. And I'm just going to say, nah, if y'all really want to do this, y'all can do it tomorrow when she's sober and she can make the decision with a clear mind. So I personally feel like I'm gonna put a little bit of responsibility on the other girls because somebody should have. Now, am I gonna let y'all kiss and make out in the hot tub? Sure, whatever. That ain't no thing but a chicken wing. They're just kissing in the hot tub. But I am not going to let a girl I know or a girl I don't know be intoxicated and drunk and go off to a back room with a man she does not know. There's no way. I didn't do it when I was 18. I wouldn't do it now at 39. I would never. This pissed me off and it broke my heart. Shandi was talking about the situation. She was crying. She was talking about it like it was fresh. She was talking about it like it just happened. I feel like there's so much trauma in this. And I feel like I don't even know if she has really dealt with the trauma for real because I'm like, girl, you were assaulted. And I feel like it was the hard R word. But even if you don't want to go that far because people like to blame women when they get into, oh, well, you drunk alcohol. Even if you want to do that, she was still assaulted because baby wasn't in her right mind to consent. If you are consenting to something, that means you are consenting with a clear mind. You cannot consent if you are incapacitated. You cannot consent if you are not in a clear mind. You cannot pump somebody with alcohol or drugs and say, yeah, they consented. The Asian guy who I told y'all is the real villain y'all try to make Tyra out to be, He go to say, well, we were treating America's Next Top Model like a documentary. And we told the girls from day one, we were filming everything. Y'all were filming a documentary. Y'all were not filming a porn. There was no reason to roll the cameras on a sexual interaction. And I feel like at some point, even if you're doing a documentary, there's a point where you need to step in and say, you know what, this ain't right. And I absolutely feel like if I'm filming a documentary and somebody is like, yeah, I'm about to get this knife and stab this person. Yeah, keep the cameras rolling. Oh yeah, officer, he stabbed them, but we had to keep the cameras rolling, for authenticity. No, you step in and you do something when you see something's wrong. I don't know. I just feel like when I was a kid, my mom used to always say, sitting by and letting wrong happen is the same as doing it. And I have always had it in my head. That's why I stepped in when I would see girls drunk because if I just let her ride off with this guy, I'm culpable. I sat by and I let wrong happen. And I feel like every single solitary person involved sat by and let wrong happen when it came to Shandi. And I hate how they framed this as a cheating storyline, because to me it was not a cheating storyline. She was sexually assaulted. In my opinion. She also goes to say they wouldn't give her a phone. She kept threatening to leave. She wanted to go home. They wouldn't let her go home. And when she kept pushing to go home, finally they gave her a phone, told her to call her boyfriend, but that they would film it. This was so sad. So we didn't need this for TV. Like, y'all didn't need to film this. Like, I just feel like sometimes there are lines that you just don't cross. Like, period. There are just lines you don't cross. But the boyfriend calling her a stupid bitch. Lord Jesus. Lord, poor girl. And Tyra's rationale in this was, I'm not the head of story. We didn't put everything on TV. Like, they edited it down. Like, we didn't see everything. Tyra, if you don't shut the fuck up. Baby, like, if Tyra don't do nothing else, child, she gonna have an excuse. She not gonna take responsibility for nothing. The situation with Shandi, to me, all of this was exploitation. But I feel like the situation with Shandi was exploitation at just its highest and most disgusting peak. And then on top of all of this, y'all remember Tyra's little talk show she had? I used to watch that show. Shandi and all the other girls was on Tyra's talk show for promo for the season. And Shandi goes to say she told Tyra backstage she's never seen the footage of that night and she doesn't want to see it. And what do y'all think Tyra proceeds to do when Baby is on stage in front of a live audience? She proceeds to play the exact footage that Baby just said she's never seen and don't want to see. Disgusting. Shandi goes to say that her and her boyfriend tried to genuinely work things out. He moved to New York with her, but they would be walking down the street and people would recognize her and just be calling and yelling slut, cheating whore. People are so disgusting. Like, I can't. But my heart broke for Shandi. My heart really freaking broke for Shandi. I cannot fathom how traumatic this must have been in general. But then compounded by the fact that she was, oh, girl. Y'all say hello to the troublemaker. Say hello to the troublemaker. Say hello. Hello to the troublemaker. You don't let me do what I need to do. All of this confounded by the fact that it happened in front of the world. It happened on a reality TV show. The fact that this footage still exists somewhere. Like, disgusting. There are just lines that you don't cross. I'm not exploiting people. Girl, can you please? Okay. Can you get okay. There are just certain lines you don't cross. Like, I just feel like I'm not compromising my humanity for success, for fame. I'm not exploiting people. I'm not stepping on people. I'm not getting anything at the expense of others. And let's be honest, the show would have been successful without showing this whole thing with Shandi. The show would have been successful if they would have stopped her after she got out of the hot tub and said, young man, you need to go. Y'all act like we didn't need this, baby. We didn't need this. Bruh, stop. Now, remember I talked about how Mr. J was talking about he wasn't on board, didn't feel right about the way they were doing a lot of things on the show. Well, I guess finally it all came to a head. His soul just couldn't take it anymore. And he says he sent a heartfelt email to Tyra, a long email talking about how grateful he was. You know, she brought him on the opportunity, but he was ready to leave. And 3 days passed before Tyra responded. And you know how that is when you send somebody a long text message and you're pouring your heart out and that must be on red for a long time. Like, you know, they read it, but they ain't respond. And then they respond with 2 words. They be like K or something like that. And Tyra just responds, I am disappointed. And he never talked to Tyra again outside of the show. He was contacted by, I think, some exec or something to like, hey, can you do one more season? And he made mention of, it wasn't said verbatim, but he got the gist of like he would be blackballed. So he agreed to do one more season, which turned into 10 more seasons. And Tyra would only speak to him when the cameras were rolling. And keep in mind, they had a very close, very long friendship. How we don't have no kind of conversation, no, like, now personally, I feel like a business relationship, yes, you send an email to quit the job. But since we have a friendship, I personally feel like this should have been a sit down. Sit down and tell me you want to leave. I get, in my opinion, I think Tyra, first of all, Tyra strikes me as a person with a big ego. Tyra to me strikes me as this all probably felt like a slight to her. It all probably felt like a slap in the face. First of all, you're walking away, you're quitting, you're leaving something that I built and brought you into. And not only are you quitting and walking away, you're quitting and walking away because you're saying what I'm allowing on my show is unscrupulous and doesn't sit right with you morally. I can see how all that could be a slight to her. I personally, if I'm Tyra, I don't want to email. Like, yes, you need to send an email for professional reasons, but since we have an actual personal relationship before it was a business, like before the show, to me, invite me to dinner, invite me to your house, sit me down, tell me face to face that you want to walk away. But I don't understand. We never had a conversation, and Tyra just, after that email, never talked to him again. What, according to his version, because Tyra refused to speak on this in a documentary, which irked me because, baby, why are you here? We're here to, this is a document. The Asian guy talking about we treated America's Next Top Model like a document. No, this is the docuseries. Like, this is we are supposed to be getting the unfiltered, ugly truth of, like, this is supposed to be that moment where you just put everything out there. And if it was so important to you, because she goes, when the host of the documentary asks her, she's like, she don't want to talk about this. She needs to have a conversation with Jay. Okay, well, you know y'all was doing a documentary. How many years has it been? Y'all could have been had a conversation if that was important to you. I can't fathom how this goes down with close friends without us ever having a face-to-face conversation. Like, to really end the friendship like this. And I will say, even though I said from a personal relationship, I wouldn't want to email, I want you to sit me down, I don't think Mr. J was wrong in how he handled this. The version of the story he gave, he sent a very gracious email. He said it was a heartfelt email, and the relationship he had with Tyra and just how he comes across, I absolutely can see him just sending I'm so, like, you know what I mean? I think it was exactly what he framed it to be. I definitely don't think he did anything to warrant my friend never speaking to me again outside of work. Like, I send this email and suddenly now we're only co-workers and I never speak to you again. I can imagine that must have been devastating for Tyra and Mr. J. Like, this was the end of a very long friendship. Now, Miss J goes to say Tyra sent her flowers and a note to say happy birthday, and 5 days later, Miss J, Mr. J, and Nigel were fired. So the series of events is Mr. J says he wants to quit. They ask him to do one more season. That turns into him doing 10 more seasons, and then y'all fire him. So basically the situation that happened was the head of the network changed. The head of the network left and a new one came in. And me and my mama have talked about this before. You know how you ever work a job where like the boss or the supervisor don't even know how to do the damn job? Like the higher ups never know what they doing when they make decisions. Like I remember I had a job and the higher ups changed like the procedure of how we did the job. Y'all, the way they changed the procedure made it way more difficult, made it take more time. Like y'all ain't even the ones doing the job. Y'all don't know what's happening. How you just making all kind of decisions? So pretty much this new exec comes in fresh off the boat, just new, and just want a huge shake-up change. Like, how you get rid of the staples? Nigel wasn't there from the beginning, but at this point is a staple. It's been 15, 17 years that Nigel has been America's Next Top Model. Miss J and Mr. J have been there since day one. And I absolutely love when Miss J is like, give me a break. I was the spine of the show. Like, you ain't wrong when you're right. You ain't wrong when you're right. So what was implied was, so the ratings were not bad, but they were not as high as they were at the height. And it was implied that those three were the reasons the ratings were down. Now, they all agreed that they would put out a joint statement because, of course, these three still want to work in the industry. So they agreed with Tyra, the network, the execs. We would all put out a joint statement and we will all be able to say what we want in the statement so that Mr. J was like, they deserve to move forward in their careers with grace and dignity. Well, they never put out the statement. That doesn't get to happen. Instead, they're blindsided by the firings being leaked to all the tabloids, right? And I believe Mr. J when he says the way confidentiality was set up with the network, the way it was such a tight, rope, a tight ship when it came to confidentiality, it's no way nothing was leaked. This was deliberate. And I forget who said it, but they talked about how they would hear before the firings talk about like how to drum up, drama or talk for the show. And this was probably their way of drumming it up. Now, I don't know if Tyra leaked it. I don't know I don't know who leaked it, but I absolutely believe Mr. J when he talking about confidential, nothing was leaked. There's no, But my thing is, let's be real. America's Next Top Model fell off after those three left. And when they played the clips of how gimmicky I must have blacked that out. I forgot how gimmicky it got. I stopped watching The Walking Dead when Glenn got killed. I stopped watching Criminal Minds when Shamar Moore left. And I stopped watching America's Next Top Model when the two J's and Nigel left. And I would pop in to catch it and see what was going on. It was never the same. It didn't have the spark. It didn't have the magic. It wasn't the same. Now, Tyra does go on to say how it was the top network head who had her fire them. But according to, like the way those three feel, they feel Tyra and the Asian guy fired them. Now, I do believe Tyra. I don't think Tyra made the decision to fire them. I believe her. I believe it was the head of the network and she just had to be the one to deliver the news and do the firing. Tyra was at the top of the show. She wasn't at the top of the network. But I will say, and she goes to say that the head of the network pretty much told her there are no sacred cows, like pretty much meaning everybody is expendable. And she took it to mean if you don't fire them, like you're expendable too. And I didn't like this. I feel like she pretty much fired them to save her behind, basically. And not just like they were blindsided. Like Nigel talks about how this was his career. This was his job for 17 years. He didn't know what he was going to do next. Like they were just fired. And if I'm Mr. J, I'm even more upset. Like, I wanted to walk away on my own, but now y'all firing me. And I personally feel like certain things run its course. And I think you have to have scruples about things and morals and stand up for what's right, because I could absolutely understand if Tyra felt like, yeah, we need to replace them, we need to fire them. That's different. But she didn't agree with that. And saying that she was told there are no sacred cows and she took it to me, I'm expendable too. To me, you fired your friends to save yourself. And at this point, 15, 17, 20 years into America's Next Top Model, in my opinion, I would have walked away with them. I'm not firing them. I'll just walk away with them. If you're saying I'm expendable too, we can just all walk away. Because at that point, I did what I said I was going to do. I proved everybody wrong. I made this successful. So y'all go on and try to do it without us and see how well it fares. Like, to me, that would have been the move. And I feel like that it would have been much better for her legacy if she walked away at that point, because the way the show fell off marred her legacy to me. Like, you did what you set out to do. You could have walked away with those three at that time, but she didn't want to walk away. But I was very happy to hear that all three of them went on to have very good careers after. And of course, all three of them had careers prior. But when this has been your job for nearly 20 years, like, and the way it was marred with the firing leak and stuff, they always say the industry is so small. Like, they very well could have not went on to have good careers. Nigel went on, continued being a very successful photographer. He did, photography and shoots for Miss Universe, for Taylor Swift. I thought that was so huge. Taylor Swift. Mr. J went on and had a contract with E doing TV hosting, had his own makeup line. Miss J went on and did, continued coaching for the catwalk and did America's Next Top Model China and America's Next Top Model Germany. So I absolutely love that. What absolutely broke my heart was in 2022, Miss J had a stroke. And I think a stroke is when a blood clot goes to your brain. Don't quote me. But Miss J had a stroke, was in a coma for 5 weeks, woke up from the coma, could not speak, and could not walk. And now she can speak. And Nigel even made a comment to her, like, you're speaking so much better now. But Miss J is in a wheelchair. She cannot walk. And the fact that Miss J has always been so, like, snappy, sassy, fun, such a light, it was so hard to see Miss J cry. And it's kind of like seeing someone get their passion taken away from them. It's like a singer losing their voice. Miss J says in a documentary, like, I was the one who taught models how to walk. Like, she misses walking the runway. I taught models to walk and now I can't even walk. Like, I'm in a wheelchair. Oh, that hurt my soul. That hurt my heart. And Miss J was asked in a documentary, did Tyra come visit you in the hospital? Because when Miss J was in the hospital, Nigel and Jay came to see him. They hadn't seen each other in years, but they came when he was in the hospital, when she was in the hospital. Like, they had a long, relationship. And of course, people get new jobs, your life moves, but they showed up when it mattered. And Miss J goes to say, Tyra never showed up. Tyra did not come see her in the hospital. Now she did say that Tyra texted, but Tyra has not come to see her. Now fast forward, and Tyra ends up, the network decides they no longer want Tyra to host the show, and she gets replaced. When I tell you that, I'm like, I thoroughly believe in walking away when you on top. Like, walk away. I know that the way the entertainment business is, whether it's a movie getting 50, 11, 100,000 sequels or a TV show going on for 100 seasons, they love to run stuff in the ground. They want to squeeze every bit of juice out the lemon. I'd rather walk away while I'm on top. I absolutely rather walk away while I'm on top. I remember, I think it was Jerry Seinfeld talking about they didn't want to end the show, Seinfeld, but he wanted to end while they were on top. Like, let's not run it into the ground. Let's not say, oh, shoot, now the ratings dipping. Now we trying to figure out how to get the audience. But no, let's leave while we on top. I want to walk away while I'm on top. Now, what was really sad to me is ultimately you had young girls with a dream, young girls from very poor, disenfranchised backgrounds who thought this would be like their ticket to success, to a better life. And ultimately, that didn't happen for most of the girls. Some of the girls, like I think Whitney, the plus size model, who was the first plus size size 6 being called plus size child, but she was the first plus size model to win America's Next Top Model. A lot of barriers were broken. Plus size models didn't even exist at that time. We all know Eva the Diva, child. Like, some of the girls did go on to have good careers, but it was like the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. I think it was Mr. J who talked about how, like, the eliminations became rigged. They no longer would pick, the girl's best photo. It became more about a show. They would try to get photos so that they could keep certain girls for a storyline rather than keeping girls for talent. That broke my heart. And one thing I didn't like when they were talking about, like, the way the show worked and how none of the girls were really cared for after the show, I thought it was so sad. Shandi, after the show, went back to working at Walgreens. That broke my heart. I didn't like when Miss J said, in response to, like, how the show was and how the girls were treated, that basically it's a dog eat dog world. And she said, in the real world, they chew you up and spit you out. I hate when people say things along the lines of, like, well, that's how it is. Well, that's how the industry goes. Well, that's how the world works. The world works however the people that populate the world make it work. Like, if I start a business and I'm like, oh, I'm want to just exploit my workers and pay for cheap labor because, that's how the world works. No, but it's not right. But it's not right. I really just wish and maybe it's a naivete, I wish as a society, we just upheld moral standards a lot more. Because I don't want to hear that's how the world is, it chews you up and speak. That don't mean that that's how we have to be. It doesn't mean that we have to perpetuate that. I feel like we've been taught in a capitalist society that in order for you to have success, in order for you to be a millionaire, like, you have to exploit people. And I just don't believe that. And maybe you can't be a millionaire, but you can still be, because I do think being a billionaire is, unethical, but you can still be successful. I feel like if they hadn't exploited the girls, if they would have treated the girls with care, they would have still had a very successful TV show. You know what I mean? Like, y'all didn't have to go do all kind of unscrupulous things. Like, y'all could have still put the spiders on the girl for the photo. Y'all could have still had the girls walking on water like Jesus Christ for the photo. Like, y'all could have did fun, outrageous stuff like that. But we didn't have to do exploitive things like forcing a girl to close her gap, or not standing up for the girl when she's been sexually harassed on a photo shoot, or not stepping in when Shandi is about to go in the room with a man she don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, what I didn't like, they had a psychic. A psychic got to do with modeling, baby. And the psychic was saying to Shandi, do you even have family? Like, you've never been hugged, have you? And Shandi is crying like, no, I don't get hugged. Like, she don't have a family. That's so... This young girl should not have been exposing her trauma and vulnerability in front of a bunch of strangers. Like, we shouldn't even say... There was no need that they brought that psychic in and did that. And I get... we want to set this up in a way of showing people's story, doing it in an inspirational way, but people should have full autonomy of their story and what they choose to share. And we shouldn't be exploiting it. I just really, that really rubbed me the wrong way. I just kind of didn't like that. And I get what she meant when she said that, and I get what people mean when they say things like that, when they say, well, that's how the world is. Oh, money makes the world go round, with the sex sells. When people say stuff like that, I get what they're saying. But I just feel like it's such a cop out. Like, when I say we, I mean the humans of the earth, we dictate how we are the world. Like, I don't know why people say that's how the world works, as if we are separate from we're the world. The world works however we motherfucking make it work. So just to say, well, that's how the world works, child. As if we're separate, like as if it's its own entity that we have no control over. It's bullshit. I think it was Danielle, and I want to say Danielle. We know her as Danny, but she said something in a documentary of like finding herself, and like she's Danielle, not Danny. So that's why I'm trying to like honor that and call her Danielle, but it's hard because I know her as Danny. But I think it was Danielle who said that, oh, and y'all, it feels to me like Danielle ain't got no love for Tyra child. And I don't blame her. But woo, it's like it was palpable. Now it wasn't harsh, it wasn't crazy in the documentary, but you could just feel it was palpable, child. But I think it was Danielle who said that Tyra, the network, they built an empire. They made millions, probably billions, off the dreams of all of those young girls. That's the epitome of the egregiousness of America's Next Top Model. I absolutely agree with that. That's the thesis statement. Like, I absolutely agree with that. Like, it's so sad. And I feel like there was a way to genuinely do for these girls and get good TV. I don't agree when people, and as someone who has watched reality TV from day one, someone who loves reality TV, you don't have to exploit people. You don't have to try to puppeteer and make it trashy. I remember watching Tia and Tamera reality show. I love that show. And y'all know Tia and Tamera ain't trashy in the sense. They is very wholesome. But I feel like when you put people in certain situations, you're going to get natural drama and natural stuff that's going to make for good TV. Like, just their sisterhood and their arguments Tia and Tamera would have, it wasn't trashy, it wasn't salacious, but it still made for good TV. Like, I just feel like you don't have to go a trashy route. You don't have to go a route of exploiting people. And I feel like you can also know your niche and your market. Like, we have the Bad Girls Club. Oh, I used to love that show. Oh, child, I used to love Bad Girls Club. We have Love and Hip Hop. Everything got to be that. Like, everything. Oh, I used to love Jersey Shore. Everything got to be that. They used to film them young kids having sex on Jersey Shore. But for them, they didn't feel like they were being exploited. They knew, oh, they're going to be filming us having sex as part of the show, But everything don't have to be under one umbrella. Like, you can carve out your own lane of success. I just don't believe you have to feel like, let's do the blueprint. Which is so funny, because with Jersey Shore and all that, Bad Girl Club, I don't think was out of it. Was it? I don't know. But they exploited these girls very much. And Danielle won America's Next Top Model and had an agent with a top modeling agency, moved to New York, and got no work. And she said she asked one of the other ladies, because she was in a modeling house, and the other models would go out and be, on jobs, and she never was. And one of the models asked the agent, well, how come Danielle never, gets the calls like we do? And was told, we have to treat her different because she's from a reality show. That was very unfortunate. And I do think, and I like how the show touched on the fact that there's such an advantage these days. Of course, we have, Instagram and the internet, and you can bypass what used to be gatekeepers, right? And I don't know who the young lady is. I can't think of her name. But y'all, there was like the girl who, she's like this gorgeous dark-skinned girl. Like, she don't even look real. She look fake. Like, she's so gorgeous. Someone took a picture of her at like a Howard homecoming or like a HBCU homecoming, and it went viral. And now she's like in Vogue and Fashion Week and all. Like, she's a model because somebody put a picture of her online. Like, there aren't the gatekeepers that it used to be. It's not the stigmas that it used to be. And I feel like that's the thing I also don't like with Tyra. Tyra just wants the praise, but she doesn't want to accept any of the negative stuff. Like, she was saying how like they opened doors, which they did. The fact that we have models now who have gaps and who are actual plus size, okay, for real plus size, not the fake size 6, skinny plus size, real plus size models with Villa Lago. Like, yes, I agree that Tyra, America's Next Top Model, what she showed the fashion industry opened a lot of doors, but I'm gonna need you to admit the fault as well. But it's like Tyra just want the praise, child. Oh, Tyra lives in Australia now, which I thought was really cool. And Danielle was also upset because she said Tyra called her like 15 years later after she won and said, I knew certain doors wouldn't be open for you, and I just rode the fence and I did nothing. Danielle was pissed at that. She was like, don't see me suffering and do nothing. I hate the fact that the girls didn't thrive after the show like I thought. The girls, when I watched America's Top Model, the girls who were like top 5, I thought they all went on to be models and have great modeling careers and was living in New York and going to, like, that's what I didn't know. There was never a where are they now, I don't think, on America's Next Top Model. I just always presumed, because the girls seemed so talented and like the feedback they got, I always thought if you hit at least top 5, you went on to have a great career. And honestly, I thought even if you didn't make it to top 5, then you were going to have a career from what you learned. It was very interesting how one of the girls said, I think it was Kenya, that she couldn't even go on to include the photos from America's Next Top Model in her portfolio. Like, I thought that was crazy. Like, I would think they would be setting these girls up for success. It's kind of like when you have, like, they should have had something set up where, I know if you're an actress or model, when you take headshots, you're supposed to be clean headshots, no, like, light makeup so they can really see you. They should have did that on America's Next Top Model. They should have had a photo shoot to put together stuff for a portfolio, teach the girls, how to do, when they would go on the go-sees and stuff. I don't know. I just really hate that it doesn't seem like the initial dream that Tyra envisioned really came to fruition. You know what I mean? It became more about a reality TV show and less about like helping these girls and really pushing them into the industry to break barriers and stuff. Which ultimately barriers were broken, but unfortunately the young ladies didn't reap the benefits of that. Like the next generation reaped the benefits. The Winnie Harlows, with Villa Lago and stuff, they reaped the benefits of the doors that these young ladies broke down. And I think, Winnie Harlow was on like a way later season of America's Next Top Model when I wasn't watching anymore, because it was news to me that she was on America's Next Top Model. I didn't know that. I just discovered that in this documentary. Like, I know who she is, but I didn't know she came from America's Next Top Model. I had no idea. And I thought that was interesting as well. And it's because some of the girls end up being successful and some didn't. Like I said, 1% of the 1%. But I think it may be, once we got into later seasons and coming from the reality show wasn't as stigmatized, maybe that has something to do with it. I wish they would have kind of delved into that more, because how come Danielle won America's Next Top Model and specifically didn't get any work, and like the agency, she said she went to that agency and it was just cold. She never booked anything. But then you had the plus size model who won, and she went on to actually have a career and book campaigns. And so I wish they would have kind of delved into, presumably, I'm going to say as we got later into it, like Eva the Diva and stuff like that, it wasn't as stigmatized, and that's why they were able to have a career. Now, I love a Netflix documentary. I've covered quite a few of them on my channel. Do y'all remember the Tinder Swindler? But I will say, this wasn't what I wanted it to be. It was good. I enjoyed it. I'm happy we peeled the curtain back a bit, but Tyra Banks is closed off as hell. It's just so much that I feel like went unspoken, unaddressed. I feel like it wasn't as hard hitting as I was hoping it would be. I thought after all this time we were finally sitting down, because we were really ready to just pull the curtains back and really delve into it, and we weren't. But it was still good. I still enjoyed it, especially as someone who was there in real time and was a fan. I really enjoyed watching this. I will say, we don't need to be outside Tyra house with pitchforks. I feel like y'all giving her way too much. Like I said, to me, the real villain was that Asian man. Oh, and that white exec who was like, nah, baby, one black person is diverse and we don't want y'all to bring no Latina girl. Them is the real villains, child. Not Tyra. Not Tyra. Now, Tyra got her wrongs, child, but let's calm down. Let's calm down. And let's remember, it is a good thing when we look back 25, 50 years ago and we're like, oh hell, how did that fly? That's great that those things don't fly today. It means we advance as a society, because especially in this day and age, child, everything happening, it be feeling like we are not progressing as a human race. It feel like we just relive history over and over and over again. So when we have those moments and those things where it's like, oh, we have advanced as a society, this shit don't fly no more, that is a good thing. I don't think we should look back on old TV shows with modern lenses in a way that we condemn the people who were a part of those shows. I think we should look at them with modern lenses and say, thank God we've advanced from that, and that stuff doesn't fly anymore. You know what I mean? Like, in that light, we should look at it. But let me know in the comments, how did you feel about the reality check documentary? How did you feel about my opinions? Did you agree? Did you disagree? Drop it in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.